Students,
Sir,
yeah, right. Sorry for the interruption. I will continue now. Okay, so in the fourth module, we'll have a things over the advent of Europeans, and you are well aware that number of European nations which entered in India, like the Dutch, English, French, and many other. When start with the Portuguese are like that. Okay, so then, as a part of imperialistic hegemony and the competition within the imperialistic countries, um, finally the British were became a dominant position, and they grabbed the overall the political domination in Indian part. Okay, so finally, the India became the colony of British, and then in the 1600 year, uh, uh, the 31st December 1600, like that, the British East India Company has started, and which having the overall domination over the trade and commerce in Indian territories. Okay, so then due to this imperialistic hegemony, there are certain conflicts taking place in between the European nations, and in the initial days, some conflicts has taken place in between Portuguese and British and Dutch and British, then French and British, and gradually the powerful countries which remain, and finally you see the Anglo-French rivalry in the form of Carnatic wars and Mysore wars, Maratha wars. Okay, so where the external conflicts also showed their impact on influenced the internal affairs, political affairs, and these French and British officials who are interfering in the administration of the local kingdoms or local provinces are like that. Okay, so finally finally French driven out from the India, and British had the overall domination, and where overall the Indian territories are comes under control of the British sovereignty, and then onwards, I think from the 1858 onwards, the British direct control over the Indian territories has taken place. Okay, so before that, 1858, you are well aware that the number of wars taken place, like 1757 Battle of Plassey taken place, and then 1864 Battle of Buxar, and 1857 the 1857 Sepoy Mutiny. So all these are the important things we'll discuss while moving with all these things. Okay, so then we have a things over the Anglo-Mysore wars and Anglo-Maratha wars, and we'll see about the era of governor generals. Okay, so from the 1772 onwards, from the William Bentinck, Sir William, from the first governor of Bengal, from the first governor of Bengal up to Lord Dalhousie, which is we discuss their efforts and their policies which implemented in the British India. Okay, so we have some of Governor General's reforms which advantage to the Indian society and some disadvantage to the Indian context. Okay, so like Sir William Bentinck, who introduced certain reforms like according to his instructions, English became the medium of instruction, and he abolished certain social levels in the society. During his tenure, Sati Prohibition Act also started, came into the force, and during his tenure, the human sacrifice also prohibited, and during his tenure, certain allotment of certain funds to the education institution or education development has started. Okay, so likewise, some advantage to the Indian society, and during the time of Lord Lytton or like that, who whose policies which discouraged the Indian people. Okay, so where certain acts, he arms act, and certain acts passed during the time of Lord Lytton, which against the overall the Indian traditional society, who want to suppress the India, British India media at that time. Okay, so he followed many restrictions over the regional newspapers and journals also. Okay, so who try to control the nationalistic feeling which arised during the British period. Okay, so then other governor generals who had certain contribution, like Lord Wellesley and Dalhousie, the policies of Dalhousie, which main factors which these are the main those reform those policies of Dalhousie, which directly occurrence of 1857. Okay, so 1857 revolt, right? So his policies were somewhat a threat to the Indian society at that time. Okay, so his doctrine of lapse, which directly interference with of the small kingdoms. You are well aware that number of kingdoms you'll see at the time, and these policies, these governor generals interfere in the administration of the locals at that time. Okay, so which raised some nationalistic feeling from the society also, right? So then, from Lord Canning onwards, we'll call as instead of calling Governor General, we call him as Viceroys, and up to Lord Mountbatten, we had a number of Viceroys, and they also followed certain important reforms and their policies, and those also advantage to the Indian society and disadvantage to the Indian society likewise. Okay, so after that, there are many other things which happened during the tenureship of these governor generals and viceroys, and all those things we will discuss very in details. Okay, so after that, we'll have a things in the module 5, like social and economic policies of East India Company. We'll see certain policies which followed by East India Company. Apart from dominating on the trade, sometimes the company also interfering in the matters of society, like that. Okay, so then the East India Company, which followed the mercantilism. You are well aware that mercantilism is one of the important concept you have to discuss while moving the British Indian rule. Okay, so because where before the policy of mercantilism, the East India Company had followed its monopoly over the trade from the India. Okay, so it's totally a private affair. Okay, so no interference of British government in the trade and commerce. Okay, so due to the implementation of mercantilism, and mercantilism is a concept where you see the combination of the private and also the public. Okay, public in the sense the share of government you see, right? So here the government and private combinedly follow the trade and commerce here. Okay, it's nothing but the mercantilism, right? So the 50% of the share definitely goes to the government in the mercantilism, and automatically after 1857 revolt, British government controlled the domination of East India Company, and the British government dominance has taken place. At the same time, they started following the mercantilism. Okay, so the gains from the trade and commerce also reach the government itself. Okay, so government also get some of the share from the East India, from the trade which taking place from India, Indian territories. Okay, so due to the mercantilism, certain commercialization has taken place. You are well aware that the before the entry of the Europeans or before the ruling of the Britain, overall Indian villages are followed certain self sufficient economy. Okay, so where they grown up certain crops, and they grown certain articles which only for the consumption. Okay, so not for selling in the open market, right? So the growing or production only for the consumption is nothing but the self-sufficient. Okay, self-sufficiency, right? So whatever the material required, the people are exchanging with the required material by giving them their available material to the others. Okay, so it's nothing but a barter system. Okay, so in the part of self-sufficient economy, we'll see only the barter system. Okay, exchange of goods and services we see. Okay, we cannot see these commercialized concepts in the self-sufficient economy, right? So before entry of East India Company, the Indian village followed only the self-sufficient economy. They are not aware, at least, about the commercialization of agriculture or like that. Okay, so but the commercialization of agriculture has started with the East India Company policies, where the East India Company officials who are turned into certain money lenders, and they are sanction some amount to the peasants and farmers to grow certain crops. Okay, so as a part of self-sufficient economy, the people who are aware about only the growing of food crops. Okay, so they not even heard about the commercial crops at the time, but the British East Indian Company who introduced certain commercial crops in the place of food crops. Okay, so you are well aware that encouraging the growing of cotton, chilies, jute, and many other commercial crops which encouraged during the time of British Indian government time. Okay, so where the production of these food crops has gradually decreased, and the commercial crops has increased. Okay, so when the commercial crops has increased, automatically the peasants were growing only those commercial crops only for the selling in the open markets. Okay, so they cannot consume those commercial crops or the cash crops, right? So likewise, this whole Indian society, which following the self-sufficiency economy, which turned into a commercialized society. Okay, so and when the commercialization of agriculture has started, and automatically the transaction of money also started. Okay, so this money transaction which taken place automatically, the money which turned the uh, people in the villages and where by selling the commercial crops in the open markets, they are getting certain cash in the hands. Okay, so it became an habit, it turned into a habit, so that many people from the Indian society following the cash crops. Okay, so likewise, the commercialization has taken place. Okay, so due to this, the decline of cottage and handicraft industries has taken place. Okay, so because the people are getting instant cash. Okay, so and where the industrialization has taken place in the European nations, and where the manufacturing and industries and factories has developed, and but they had certain shortage of resource and raw material, right? So the raw material from this India to the European manufacturing units was a common phenomena during the during the British Indian time. Okay, so where the raw material from the India which going to the European nations. So likewise, the drain of wealth has taken place. Okay, so drain of wealth concept, which is given by Dadabhai Nauroji, which is the number of the majority of the raw material and natural resources were in the Indian territories, which are uh, transporting to the European nations, where they are using these raw materials in their own manufacturing units. Then the finished goods again, which importing, exporting to the colonies like India, and they are selling these goods at very cheaper rate. Okay, so the mission made good is attracted the people, and the cost is less, so that these Indian society which attracted towards the mission made goods, and at the same time the man made goods, the goods which made manually, gradually the demand for those man made goods were decreased. Okay, so that the decline of cottage and handicrafts industries has started, and then these people who are dependent on these cottage and handicraft, who follow these handicrafts, are like a artisans who lost their livelihood, and again they are depending on these East India Company and British officials. Okay, so for their livelihood or employment. Okay, so likewise, certain differences, has, certain changes has taken place in the society, and the commercialization of things which influence the society also, and some social changes has taken place, and at the same time the modernization also entered, the modernization also taken place, where the modern means of transport and communication also started in India, in Indian territories, like the roads and development of roads and railways has started, and not only uh, transporting the goods from one place to the another, not only transporting these military from one place to the another, uh, the people also moving, the passengers also moving from one place to the another through the modern means of transport. And this given a scope for the Indian society have control of certain social inequalities. Okay, so the better example is the means of modern transport, where the railways, where within the as a railway locomotive, you have number of bogies, where within bogie you will see number of people you can they can sit side by side. Okay, so whenever they travel from one place to the another, through these modern means of transport, like in any trolleys or by through the railways. And these people combinedly travel. Okay, so you are well aware that Indian society having certain inequalities based on the class, based on the communities, based on the caste. You see certain variations and high and low. Even though like variations through this mode of modern means of transport, these people were traveling from one place to the another, which given somewhat equality, at least in the travel. Okay, so that one of the most important advantage to the Indian society, gradually the inequality is decline. Okay, so which is also one example. It's not a main main factor to control inequality, but it's one of the factor control some inequality and differences among the various classes in India, high and low. We said the Indian society is followed only the traditional system of education, and in the place of traditional education, the modern education system started as a and the logic, mathematics, sciences as learned. Okay, so in the place of Puranas and the place of orthodoxy, religious texts like Vedas, and in the place of those certain westernized education has started, and westernized education given somewhat realistic thinking to the Indian people. Okay, so this Western education only provided by the Christian missionaries. Okay, so you are well aware that Christian missionaries done a lot of thing to the Indian society. First of all, the Christian missionaries which started their efforts to control inequality in Indian society, where these Christian missionaries provided